Hello again. This is part 2 in our series on making the fitting adjustments to a pants pattern using Affinity Designer 2. So far, I've selected my size and have deleted the layers I don't need. Now I'll choose only the specific pattern pieces required for the fitting adjustments. I'll position them so that the horizontal balance lines are aligned, and then I'll trace a working copy of each pattern piece. Firstly, let's just thicken the outlines a little more. With the node tool active, press Ctrl and A to select everything in your workbook. Then click on the line tool and change the width to 3. Now everything is just so much clearer. Now let's delete the 3 pieces we don't need right now. As per usual, select and press backspace. If you're dragging to select, just make sure that you don't accidentally include a line or arc of an adjacent piece. The next thing I'm going to do is to remove all of the seam allowances, the hem allowance, and any notches and other markings that are inside the seam allowance. Now before I go any further, I want to make sure that I don't confuse the center back and center front seams of the waistband with the side seams. So I'm going to change the center front and center back seam line color to red. Now let's group the waistband lines and arcs together so that they don't break apart when we move them. Again, take care not to include a line or arc of an adjacent pattern piece. Move the waistband sections out of the way and then group the pants sections. With everything grouped by pattern piece, for now, we're going to flip the pants front both horizontally and vertically so that the side seams of the pants are next to each other. This is important because we want to ensure that the horizontal balance lines are always in perfect alignment when we make any adjustments. So next I'm going to line up the bottoms of the pants front and back. I'm going to drag a ruler down to the bottom of the sheet. And by the way, I always find it useful to have all the snapping options enabled. Then I'm going to align the bottom of both the front and the back pattern pieces with this ruler that I just dragged down. Now I can move the waistband sections up above the pant sections. The top section belongs to the front and the bottom section to the back of the pants. And we know, of course, that the red side is the center seam. So I'm just going to line them up nicely. Now I'm going to check that all of the horizontal balance lines are exactly lined up, starting at the hemline and moving up from there. If anything needs to change, it's going to be on the pants back. So I'm going to go ahead and ungroup that piece. I'm just going to check that all of the horizontal balance lines are in one piece. The high hip line on the pants back is obviously in two parts because it is on either side of the dart, but I'm going to group those two pieces so that if I do move that horizontal balance line, they do move as one. Then I'll just go ahead and check the others too, grouping lines where required. At this stage, I do keep the wedge lines together as well. Now I'm going to make my way through all of the horizontal balance lines on the pants back. We've already checked the one at the hemline, so I'm going to move that ruler up to the knee and I'm just going to go through each and every one of them and check that the horizontal balance line on the pants back is in line with the one on the pants front. And I'll move the horizontal balance lines on the pants back up or down where that is necessary. You'll notice that there are some little gaps in the side seams. I deleted those little nodes and markers earlier because they were independent of the balance lines. Just to keep things simple, there were just too many ungrouped things that could move independently of one another. But not to worry, when we trace the pattern pieces just now, you'll see that this is not going to be a problem at all. And now I can group the pants back pattern piece again. Right, so we have the 4 pattern pieces here that we're going to be working with. We've lined everything up nicely, and so what I want to do now is to make sure that this doesn't move around anywhere and that nothing can accidentally be changed on it. So to do that, I'm going to go across to the layers panel. Everything is included in this layer called size 4M, and I'm going to click over here and that is going to lock it. So now I can't click to select any of these pieces. I can't move them. I can't do anything to them. It's all now locked to the background of the document. What I want to do now is to make a working copy of each of these 4 pieces. So to do that, I'll draw a rectangle. Now I click on Layer and then Convert to Curves. Now I can move this shape around, and because I converted it to curves, I can also add nodes and reshape it. All right, let's take a look at this again. So the basic process is to create a shape. I normally just do a rectangle. I make it approximately the size of the pattern piece. I then go to Layer, then Convert to Curves. I now have a square-shaped node at each edge, and I can transform this rectangle into the shape of the pattern piece. Now I can add as many nodes as I need. If I click once, I get a square node, and you can drag it to the place that you want it to be. When you work with square nodes, it creates straight lines. So if I create another square node here, I drag it inwards, I'm going to get a straight line above and below it. The other thing that I can do is double click on the node and make it a curve node, in which case it's going to give me a curve. Now I find that it's often difficult to get your curve right on the first pass, and it can be a bit fiddly to manage. This may change as I get more practice, but for now I prefer to start off with square nodes and align them with the critical points on the pattern piece. Once I've done that, I can go back and make the lines more curvy, because you don't want jagged lines comprised of a bunch of little straight lines. So let's zoom in on this now and take a look at exactly what we're going to be doing initially. I like to get the corners roughly in the correct position. So I'm just going to drag these slightly closer, and for now, let's just concentrate on the top section of this pattern piece, and I'll go back and do the rest a little bit later. Oops, see what I did there? I didn't want to do that. So, Control Z or Z to undo. Because this is a straight line, I don't need too many nodes. The more curved the line is, the more nodes you're going to want to use so that you can get a nice curve going on here. And you can align a series of these critical points along the way. Right, I'll just zoom in here and you can see that I'm going to get the nodes at the point in between the middle of this line and the middle of this line. Whoops, and I'm curving again, which I don't want to do. So you'll go along and you'll get all of your nodes exactly where you want them. As you can see here, snapping really is helping me to get the node in exactly the right place. Now you know that this pattern line is a very, very thin line. So when you get the node in the middle of the line, you're really going to have an accurate final pattern piece. The less curved the line, the less nodes you'll need. And again, I'm just going to zoom in as much as I can because it'll really help me to get my nodes in the middle of the line. Then once I've drawn a line and I sort of have it where I want it, this is a curved line, what I want to make sure, let me just move this whole piece up now. When we move it up, we can see that these lines are sort of jagged. There are little corners in them, and this is not supposed to be a jagged line. So let's just put it back where it was, go back into our node setting, and once I'm happy that I have this line and all the nodes in the correct place, I can convert this to a curved node simply by double-clicking on it. And that'll make this a nice curved line now. So when I move this piece up, you'll see that I've lost all of those little jagged edges. But I only do that once I've properly aligned the nodes and I have them exactly where I want them to be. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now and complete the tracing of this pattern piece as accurately as I can. So now I've traced all of the pattern pieces and I can get to the interesting part, which is making the adjustments.